Part 5. Record Keeping. There is no group ledger or complex system of accounts at the group level. The closing balance of the loan fund is simply announced, remembered by all members, and if desired, noted in a notebook at the end of each meeting. In order to track the individual savings and loans of the members, CBSGs use a simple passbook for groups with limited literacy skills. Each member has their own passbook, which contains information about their individual share purchases and outstanding loans. The cover of the passbook contains the group name, group number, member name, and member number. The front half of the passbook tracks each member's shares, and the back half of the passbook tracks their loan transactions. The passbooks remain in the cash box in between meetings to ensure there are no modifications to the records outside the meeting. Record keeping is an activity of the whole group, not just the management committee. It is the responsibility of the management committee to ensure that all transactions and records are clear and that all members understand the process. Although this system does not require a high level of literacy, it does need people who can count. The facilitator must ensure, before the group initiates its financial activities, that everyone on the management committee is able to count properly. This section provides an overview of the passbook-based record keeping of CBSGs through the example of Juma. Savings records. The savings record is based on a pictorial system using a stamp. When each member buys from 1 to 5 shares at the meeting, the shares are stamped into their passbook. A share is shown as a symbol, such as an arrow, star, or moon. As members make their savings contributions through purchasing shares, the record keeper stamps the correct number of shares in their passbooks, making sure that the box keeper and the member watch this and confirm that the amount is correct. Empty spaces are then crossed out on each line to prevent fraudulent entry of shares at a later date. For example, in the Lindi community-based savings group in Tanzania, a share is shown as a tree and is worth 500 Tanzanian shillings, about 45 US cents. Lindi Savings Group has already had 5 savings meetings in which Juma has bought 11 shares. In other words, Juma's total savings are 5,500 shillings, 11 shares times 500 shillings each. 2 weeks later. At the time of the 7th meeting, Juma explained that he had been ill the previous week, could not work and was unable to buy shares. All 5 of the blocks for that week were crossed out by the record keeper to show that he bought no shares. In addition, Juma needed some money to pay for his medical expenses, so he needed to withdraw some of his savings. He asked to cancel 3 shares and then received 1,500 shillings from the record keeper. The record keeper then draws a red line through the 3 cancelled shares. Being able to sell shares gives members access to their savings, but members should understand that they will lose future earnings when profits are shared out. Once shares are sold, they cannot be replaced. One of the strengths of the CBSG system is that it can be flexible when members are facing personal problems. Although it is not good for members to stop saving or to withdraw savings by selling their shares early, it is possible in emergencies. There might have been a way for Juma to solve his personal problem without having to sell shares, either through support from the social fund or a loan from the loan fund. But it is important that members should not be pressured into borrowing, since he might prefer not to increase his risks by taking out a loan. 6 weeks later. By the end of the 13th meeting, the first page of the savings record is complete, and the record keeper completes the summary box at the bottom of the page. This is not absolutely necessary, and groups with particularly low numeracy skills sometimes ignore this step altogether. Nevertheless, the summary box at the bottom of each page is helpful and reduces the length of loan meetings, since the member savings can be counted more easily and quickly. By the end of the 13th meeting, Juma had bought a total of 28 shares. In the box below the share stamps, this number was entered on the line number of shares bought this period. But as we have seen, in meeting 7, he cancelled 3 shares. This number is entered on the line number of shares sold this period. The net shares end period to be carried forward are therefore only 25, the 28 minus 3. This number 25 is then carried forward to the next page and entered on the line starting number of shares. Loan records. Loan meetings are once every 4 weeks, regardless of whether the group meets weekly or fortnightly. All loan transactions, loan repayments and disbursements of new loans are made at the monthly loan meetings in front of all the members. Some groups may wish to perform loan transactions more frequently, as they see the amount of cash in the loan fund grow during the month. However, groups that disperse loans at any time sometimes experience problems, as this complicates record keeping. It is better for all groups to get used to dispersing and repaying loans every 4 weeks for the whole of the first cycle, before starting on the more complicated task of managing loan taking and repayment at every meeting. The back half of the passbook records all loan transactions of the member. This is Juma's first loan, as indicated in the loan number column. He borrowed 30,000 shillings. There is no need to record the date because all loan repayments will occur at future loan meetings, which follow each other at intervals of 4 weeks. The loan is for a period of 3 months, indicated by the word end written in the paid row, 3 months in the future. Each monthly loan meeting is represented by a block in the record, marked by a thick black line. The Lindy Savings Group has a monthly service charge of 10%. The service charge is applied to the loan amount such that on his loan of 30,000 shillings, Juma will owe 3,000 shillings in service charges in 4 weeks. The record keeper writes 30,000 in the loan amount row and 3,000 in the service charge row. Juma signs this to show that he understands that he owes 30,000 shillings for the loan and 3,000 for the service charge for 4 weeks. It is, in effect, a contract. 4 weeks later, month 1. At the following loan meeting, 4 weeks later, Juma makes a loan repayment of 3,000 shillings, which is the service charge and the minimum amount that must be paid. The money counter receives the 3,000 shillings. The record keeper writes 3,000 in the paid row and 30,000 in the loan amount row. The record shows that he still owes 30,000 shillings, and once again a service charge of 3,000 will be payable at the next meeting. The record keeper writes the new balance due, which is 30,000 shillings, in the loan amount row. He then adds a 3,000 shilling service charge to the amount due. Thus, once again, Juma is told that he will owe 33,000 shillings in the next loan repayment meeting, 4 weeks later. 4 weeks later, month 2. At the following loan meeting, Juma makes a loan repayment of 10,000 shillings. 10,000 shillings is deducted from the 33,000 shillings owing, which leave him with a balance of 23,000 shillings. The money counter receives the 10,000 shillings. The record keeper writes 10,000 in the paid row and 23,000 shillings in the loan amount row. He then proceeds to write 3,000 in the service charge row. His outstanding loan amount is now 26,000 shillings. In the flat method prescribed by AKF, the monthly service charge is applied to the original loan amount regardless of the remaining balance. In other words, Juma will continue to pay 3,000 shillings per month in service charges, 10% of the loan amount of 30,000 shillings, as long as the loan is active, no matter what proportion of the loan has already been repaid. 4 weeks later, month 3. After 3 months, the entire loan must be repaid, and Juma pays the full 26,000 shillings owing. The money counter receives the 26,000 shillings. The record keeper writes 26,000 in the paid row and 0 in the loan amount row. Once the loan is fully paid, the record keeper signs the record and draws a red line through the whole page, indicating that the loan has been completely repaid. The balance due of 0, the record keeper's signature, and the red line across the page provide a strong visual record that the loan has been fully serviced and is no longer active.